Coaching for Systematic Impact. Today, we're joined by Jreissati, a Master Certified Coach with the ICF, who brings nearly 20 years of experience in leadership development across the MENA and GCC regions. Nada has also contributed to the ICF global competencies and designed culturally relevant ICF-accredited executive coaching programs. Her work uniquely blends the human and systematic sides of leadership, helping leaders create lasting impact. We're really excited to hear her insights on coaching for systematic impact, working with leaders beyond performance. So over to you, Nada.
Hi everyone. Thank you for having me. So I'm gonna share my screen. We'll be talking today about coaching for systemic impact. And the focus today is to explore how leaders move from the inner shifts to influencing the entire systems. So before I get there, I just want to ask you, and feel free to put in the chat, when you hear systemic impact in coaching, what comes to your mind? Do we have anyone?
Yeah, it's gradual, it's sustainable, it is lasting impact.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Nothing? Completely blank about this. Interesting. Okay.
Could you hear me? I said,
Process. Yeah. Sorry?
yeah, I said it is gradual, sustainable, and lasting impact.
Gradual, sustainable, and lasting impact. Okay, perfect. Not just the person, but the whole organization. It's a process, holistic, all-round development. Yeah. See, notice how your answers already span from individual to organizational. That's exactly the systemic shift we will go deep in today. Our agenda for today, we will move through 4 stages from definitions to a real case to practice with a systemic tool, and finally to integration. My goal for today is to equip you with practical frameworks that immediately enhance your coaching impact, whether you are an external coach, internal leadership developer, or even a senior leader mentoring others. So before we dive into the theory, let me paint a picture with a metaphor that makes systemic coaching instantly relatable, specifically also for those who have no idea what systemic coaching is. Imagine coaching like someone swimming. Their stroke is the performance, what they directly control. Their fellow swimmers are the influence. They are peers they can align with. But the river is the current. That's the system. It's invisible, but it pulls everyone. So, coaching systemically means helping leaders see the current, not just their stroke. With that image in mind, let's ground ourselves in what makes performance coaching different from systemic coaching. So, performance coaching asks, how do you do better? Systemic coaching asks, what patterns keep this issue alive? This shift from fixing individual to shifting dynamics. So, I just want you to think of a leader that you have coached or you're coaching right now. In your opinion, what system factor, not their personal effort, was or is blocking their progress? If someone wants to share, I'm happy to read in the chat because we are too many. So probably in the chat, if you want to share, it's fine. Okay. I don't think we have anyone in the chat. Okay, just I want you to think of anyone that you're coaching, and think of how are the systems impacting their development, how are the systems are blocking their progress, and what you can do about it. In that aspect, we will talk a bit about the IPP lens. So the IPP lens is the identity, the purpose, and the power. Identity is when you think or someone thinks, who I believe I am. It's how leaders see themselves within the systems. It's the self-concept, it's the narrative that they tell themselves, it's the role they think they play. So it's when they think, who I believe I am. The purpose is what drives meaning to them, is why they act the way they do. And the power is who or what decides the outcomes. Again, it is who influences the flow, who has access to the resources. And when these three align, leaders thrive. When they clash, leaders get stuck. And our job as coaches is to surface those three dynamics. And I really want you to be with me. I know we are now almost 70 people, but I just want you to take 1 minute, a silent reflection. And have in mind someone that you coach, or probably your role in your organization. It doesn't have to be someone that you're coaching. Which of these three is most often at play with you, with one or many of your clients? Because the IPP lens reveals the hidden dynamics that shape a leader's effectiveness. Take 1 minute and reflect which one of these three is most often at play. And again, okay, purpose. Good. Purpose is key. Yeah. Okay, let's make identity. Purpose and identity. Yeah. Okay, great. We cannot choose, of course, because really it's holistic. We need the identity, we need the purpose, and we need the power. Let's make this a bit realistic with a leader named Sarah, and who is facing an innovation challenge. So what's the problem? Sarah is a division head who wants to drive innovation, but senior management only funds project with immediate profit, which we see a lot in many organizations. She came to coaching, in her opinion, was for communication skills, because she wanted to communicate her idea and make her idea pass across the organization or across the board. But the real block wasn't her. It was the system rewarding short-term gains. And how many times we see this? How many times we see that us as leaders or managers or the people that we lead or we coach, they say, this is not in my control. So how do we coach when the block isn't inside the leader, but around them? For that, we use something called the circle of influence. What is this, the circles of influence? I want you to think of those three rings. Control is what is in our coach's control or in your control, what I can directly influence, who I can get with me to agree on my on my project, on my initiative. And then also we have the system. The system is the structure, the rules beyond immediate reach. And this model helps leaders focus energy where it counts. So who has heard of this tool before? Anyone?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, you have. Okay. Thank you.
We do
Can
it,
you?
I do it more from the time of circle of concern and influence. It's done in the spaces of responsibility and taking it completely by yourself and not blaming the other. This is, of course, a little more on the other side as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. So Kalpana and Ramona, I'm seeing Ramona also probably Carly in the chat. You've heard of this, so we will together try uh, to solve Sarah's issue, okay? And see how we can use those within this context. So I want you to take 2 minutes with a pen. Right, in your opinion, in Sarah's case, everyone, but also we will see the people who have really worked with this. Write one control move, and this is the first step. The second step is writing one influence stakeholder that Sarah might choose. And step 3, try to write one system force, okay, that Sarah can use. We will go to that later, of course, and to see how we expand our coaching. But for now, let us see how this applies to Sarah's case. I will give you all around a minute so you can write that, and we will see how this applies to Sarah's case. Okay, so Sarah's identity is the innovator, right? It's her identity. She sees herself as an innovator, not just a manager. This core identity drives her desire for change, but can clash with organizational realities. Her purpose is long term growth. So she wants to build something innovative, and this requires a different timeline and risk tolerance than immediate profit, which is not aligned with what the organization needs. And the power, of course, sits with senior management, and it is tied to short term metrics. So, understanding those dynamics will help us pinpoint the leverage point beyond Sarah's individual performance. Now, this is what Sarah can do. Let's apply these concepts to Sarah's case. What specific actions can she take at each level of influence? So, what is it in her control? First, in her circle of control, what are the direct actions she can implement? She could pilot a quick win project. And I'm going to ask you again how you can apply this. I want your ideas as well. But I'm giving you some examples. Next, how can she use her influence to gain allies and shift perspectives? So in influence, she could ally with peers and probably with finance to reshape the ROI. And finally, what strategic moves can she make to address the larger system that's blocking innovation? At the system level, she could probably push for a pilot budget change. So I just want you to notice the widening field of action. So now Sarah is not getting stuck, but she's using the circles of influence to try to get to her innovation. Now, I gave you some ideas. It is your turn now to map Sarah's challenge through the circles of influence. You already wrote few things. I just want you, if you have any ideas, just give me in the chat one control move that she can do, one influence, any partner, any person that she can have as probably supporting her in this, and what is one strategic move she can address. Kalpana?
In the control, if Sarah can make her project of innovation fit into the larger big picture of an organization, she will be able to influence many stakeholders, not only one. So always an organization talks about the big picture. If the big picture can be fit into, I think it will be in her control. And if she can, without piloting, still show the outcome in the form of the concept, it will work for her.
Yeah. All right, thank you. So we have a question in the chat. Would this be a control, setting up conversations with strategic people? It could be, but I would, as a coach, put that in the influence stakeholders.
Yeah,
And
maybe.
direct action would be something that she will do as well, something that is tangible. So it is one specific move that Sarah might do. You're welcome. It's about widening our perspective from there is one immediate action, but there are also some strategic and structural levels, and this is the heart of systemic coaching. So as we move through this, we can strengthen this by thinking that immediate actions will be focusing on direct tactical moves the leader or Sarah can take within their immediate control. Probably running small pilots, reframing proposals for quick wins, and building relationships. This is in the influence. They, as you said, Kalpana, she tries to identify, and also in the chat, identify some key stakeholders and potential people that will help her to in the circle of influence. Probably, as I said, finance, probably sometimes some gatekeepers, sometimes even the assistant of the CEO can be a key to just make her probably more accessible, at least to have some support. And then the third one is addressing systemic forces. So uncover the larger system forces, probably short-term incentive policies, probably some strategies to have few structural changes. So this expansion of perspective from individual action to broader systemic leverage is the heart of what we are doing. Yeah, true. PAs are very influential. This is why we call them the gatekeepers. Now let's strengthen this with questions. So how do we address this as coaches? We know coaches, we create awareness, and then we have powerful questions while honoring the value and the identity and the purpose of our clients. So these questions will expand awareness. So if we ask what story about yourself drives this, we are talking about probably identity and purpose. Which option best serves your long-term vision? Because the why is related to a long-term vision, and power, who benefits from the current setup, who holds the key to change. So these questions will help Sarah and many leaders uncover the systemic drivers behind challenges, moving beyond individual performance to identify deeper patterns of influence and impact within the organizational context. So based on that, I just want you to type in the chat one question you would ask Sarah that will help her move forward with any of the of the context: identity, purpose, power. Just one question in your opinion. No questions. Okay, I'll give you a question bank. So those questions are your deep dive into the IPP framework. They are designed to help clients see beyond the presenting problem to the systemic roots. Just keep in mind, for identity, it is about the internal narratives. So, how might your personal history with risk be shaping your approach to innovation? What aspects of your leadership identity feel threatened by the current challenge? And for purpose, it is about alignment with values and long-term vision. Whose interests are served or threatened by potential changes? What larger organizational narrative is this challenge connected to? And the power questions, it is about surfacing the hidden dynamics and who controls the levers of change. Now, pick one question from this bank that you would use with Sarah from our case study, and now share it in the chat. Which one would you like? Okay, what will you lose in your identity if you don't start taking the first steps? I love those questions. I'll give you some time. Okay, Carly, I'll give you some time. What's the key outcome? What are you currently doing or not doing that is inadvertently creating what you don't want? How does the solution look like in the context? I love this question. Whom do you need right now to influence today from where you want to be in 3 years? Good questions. What larger organization narrative is this challenge connected to? Yeah. Can I have a question about the system? Because most of the times we know that we can coach the person, but when it comes to systems, it gets a bit tricky. We have politics, we have dynamics, we have also our coachee who is not ready to challenge the status quo, to be open to have more ideas, including the system. Who in the organization can support your ideas and sponsor your efforts? Yeah. Dr. Ravi, I think this is an influence question. Yeah, and sponsor the system. Let's who are your see, most of the times, and it's fine, we focus on the identity and on the purpose or on the influence, and we barely challenge the system, whilst most of the times this is the most challenging. Which part of the organization culture is expansive? Yeah, this is nice. So notice how well are yours and organization values aligned. Thank you so much. So notice how this question aren't about fixing Sarah. It is about expanding her awareness of the system she is operating within. That's what we call systemic shift in action. I love this question. What part of the organization culture drives performance? What can you do to create greater accessibility for your ideas. Yes, this is good. Now, I'm not sure we can create breakout rooms, but I just want you to integrate, think about the circles of influence model, and I want you to think of one challenging client or challenging situation, or even a challenge that you are facing in your organization, probably as a leader. I'm not sure if you're all coaches or not, but I just want you to try to think about the circles of influence model, and probably in our case study, and how can you apply this to one of your clients or one of your or in your organization. Can we is there enough room for breakout rooms? I would like them to have some let me check. Okay, yeah, we can have breakout rooms. Okay, I just want you to think of we will going for a breakout rooms for 6 minutes only. I want you to have one coachee or one topic in mind. Probably you are facing this in your organization, or you are seeing someone who is facing this in the organization, and this is systematic. So you need to know that it's not coaching the person. Of course, we don't coach the problem, but again, we have to put in mind the three aspects. I'm gonna put them again. Just 1 second. Yeah. So please think of this, and I just want you to know how to coach someone or yourself if you are facing this. And I know many are facing this, especially if you are a coach within the organization. Sometimes coaching is not very acceptable. How can you make it? How can you make this within the system? So what is one move that you will do? So we have the influence, we have the system, and we have the control. And do not forget, we have the identity, and we have the purpose, and we have the power. Let's address this, and I want you to share with each other and then come back, and we will see how we can implement this. 6 minutes.
All right, we'll create the breakout rooms. I just want to clarify, how many members do you want in each breakout room?
I'm trying to do them, okay?
All right,
If you
okay.
want. I'll do them. I'll do as much as our let me see, as much as Zoom will allow us, and I'm gonna
Sure.
tell you.
Sure, sure.
We can have 12 okay, we will have 4 to 5 participants in each room, which is very good for the time. So you can share. I will bring you back in around 6 minutes, and I really want us to have this very interactive to see how you can apply. Because if I keep on saying information and you don't have any idea how to apply, let's help each others in it, okay? No problem, Larry. It's fine. If you can do it, it's fine. No problem. Welcome back, everyone.
Hey.
So who would like to share, probably in the chat, or probably you can also tell us here, what is at least one or two things that you would do differently now when considering the three aspects. First, of course, the identity, the purpose, and the power, and also understanding the system, the circle of influence. Who would like to share? Anyone? Suket, I heard you giving a lot of ideas. Would you like to share? It's up to you.
Yeah, I think to be frank, these things are there in the mind, but with the IPP lens, I think it makes the whole thing much more clearer. So what will I do differently? List down what are the things in my control, what or who can be my circle of influence, and when I say system, what do I mean by it? Who are the powers that be? There were many examples that all of us shared. So listing them down and then taking note of, these points, that would help me to be in a much more better situation as compared to earlier before this session.
Yeah. Thank you.
Ah.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Anyone?
So yeah, so we
Yeah.
were discussing about the project to have an LMS in the organization was a very, we took the live scenario of many of our issues today was having the LMS or not having the LMS, which really incurs a lot of cost. So the different part is to keep the end in mind. Does that go with the IPP, Nada? To keep the end in mind?
Yeah, of course.
And when I was doing the discussion with everybody, isn't problem statement itself a space of influence? The minute a lot of problem statements have come into our reviews and what's the buzz in the organization, doesn't that space already become a space of influence for me to be able to convert it into the systemic process?
Yeah, but when I agree with you, but when we talk about influence, it's truly, let's go back to the metaphor. It's really who is beside you, who can really go with the waves beside you, who can make this swim easier and smoother for you.
Got it.
And this is a great exercise that we do a lot in executive coaching that we call power base. Who is your power base? And I'm going to give you a small framework that you can use with your clients as well. So it's you give them a kind of a map. They have to list the people. We have two variables here. We have the people who support our ideas, and we have the people who have the power of decision. So those two should be included. Sometimes people do not support our ideas at all, but they have a great power of decision. And sometimes we have people who support us, but the decision means nothing. But again, as I was saying, they can have access to the people who support the idea. And if we want to talk about coaching the whole issue, we know that a coaching is not a one-time coaching session. We need to coach Sarah or whoever, or ourselves or our clients, to have a continuous good relationship with others, because and give them value as well. So we never coach on influence without asking our coachee to have great relationships and give value, provide value before trying to get value from others. And most of the times, this is what they miss. They miss having continuous good relationships, because at a certain point in time, they will need them in their circle of influence. And this is a huge topic as well.
Yeah.
How to build good power base.
Right. In our group, we had this conversation, Nada, that and we were jostling with two kinds of things. One was obviously, like Kalpana said, LMS. For us, it was the maybe a CSR activity kind of a thing, or a corporate citizenship activity kind of thing? And how do you develop a systemic base for it? The other was me being a practicing coach. One of the very common things that we face in executive coaching is, how are you developing your successors? How are you developing a ready pool of successors so that you can take up a larger leadership role? Often this is looked in a very, in a myopic manner, in a short-sighted manner, and not in a systemic manner. Because it is not just about building a successor of myself who I think is ready to take up, but the system should also accept this successor, right?
Yeah.
As the guy who will kind of replace me, and therefore has faith in that person. So how do we influence the system to accept this successor? Number one. Now, how do we influence this successor to become that person that the system will accept, right? And how do we do what we need to do to make ourselves redundant, if I may use that word, right? So that the successor gets a larger play to play, right? So this in itself can be a play of systems that I was looking at.
Yeah, perfect. And if I asked you, then you will be able, because you've said it, you will be able to see what is it in the control
Right.
of the person. Because if you don't want to make yourself redundant, or you want to make yourself as in the succession plan, then it is in your control by also building good relationships, and of course providing value. And this is what we should be as coaches as well. Anytime we do executive coaching, even though it comes into families as well, it comes into every coaching situation, systemic is everywhere. But if we're talking about executive coaching, it should be always a holistic approach regardless, because the system is there, it will always be there. And if I want to say it in a different approach, we know that the psychodynamics coaching, they have the PRO model. They have the person. You are a person. It is your identity. You have a role, the role that you play in the organization, and the O is what the organization is expecting from you as well. So they're always at play, those three. We can never coach executive and leaders without having those two frameworks in mind, regardless of if there is a new initiative or not. So if we want to empower our coaches, we stop coaching performance, we start all the times coaching systemic. Okay?
Absolutely.
Good. Great. So since we agree on that, now how are you going to integrate this? What would be your next move? It is your time now to integrate, thinking of the future. I'm thinking, probably I've heard in some rooms that you don't have a specific scenario. Probably if you go back in time, or if you're planning to coach someone, or even yourself as well, because we need this as well, especially in the executive world. As coaches, we need this. So if you think about the circle of influence, and also of course your IPP, your identity, your purpose, your power, if you think of this and having in mind the case study, what would be, I want you to choose one concrete actionable move you would commit to, probably with yourself or your client, to experiment with this week. So I just want to give you probably a 1 minute. We're coming to an end. Just want to give you 1 minute of reflection. What is that one move that will make the difference? This would be a personal commitment. It is not about grand gestures. It is about identifying a small, intentional experiment that can shift the system. And remember, systemic impact often begins with focus actions. Okay, so I'm going to answer the question in the chat. So vertical development is about how leaders grow their mental capacity to handle complexity, moving from doing things better to seeing in new ways. And this is an ICF competency, since you're getting your CCEs. It is about creating awareness. So identity is vertical growth, expanding how leaders see themselves, not just as my role, as I was saying, but as part of the wider system. What is my role within the organization? And in the purpose, it stretches purpose from personal goals to systemic contribution. And if you want to talk about power, it reframes power from control to influence, and definitely shared responsibility. So IPP gives us the lens to spot where leaders are stuck today. Vertical development explains how their capacity to work with identity, purpose, and power expands over time. I hope it makes sense. Okay, I can develop more internal coaches to build it as a culture. I like that. Move beyond the circle of influence to circle of systems. Help discover what else gets impacted by the client. You're most welcome. Okay, so let's see our takeaways for today and close with the key shifts. So if you want to apply, those are some ideas. How do you know if you're applying the systemic approach? Look for recurring patterns across different teams. Probably if you hear that that's just how things work here, kind of explanation. So this is also an opportunity. If you feel that there is a disconnect between stated values and behaviors as well, if you notice that there are issues that persist despite capable leadership, or most of the time solutions that create